Here she comes.
Oh, come on. Okay, as usual.
Thank you. Get read fast.
Say that again.
Get read fast.
And I just saw your email.
It's the same as we reviewed during meeting, but
I said.
courtesy if there's anything you wanna look at.
It's the same, I'm good with it. Yeah.
Or
If it's the same, I'm good with it. It says something like that. Where's my recorder?
I don't know. Christina.
What? Recorder or recorder? My recorder, oh. Oh, that's.
Except go Max again.
I do.
Make your trips already.
Do you want me to go grab something for you? I don't even know where it is, but I swore I put it in there.
Debbie, do you need it, a
Yeah.
recorder? Or,
I can have the recording off here.
yeah, and I can take the notes for you too, if that would help.
That would help.
We'll do that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Problem solved. I can't record, but.
Just give it a couple minutes and see if Mark comes up.
Okay. Hopefully you didn't get stuck behind the screen.
So Mark Rusted says that his computer needs to update before he can get into the meeting.
Ooh,
Well,
what does that take so long?
It's always the best timing with computer updates, right?
It doesn't usually take that long, it only takes, last time I did it, it only took a couple minutes,
Yeah.
and if you wanna give them maybe 3 or 4 minutes, I don't think that would be it. Ruby can join from his phone. I can ask him if he can. Yeah, so that's almost done.
Oh, boy. I didn't see that.
Tell that I need the caffeine, oh, it. Leaving me.
Now, don't shake it.
So the problem wasn't so late, it was just gonna be.
That'll be my toddler and my 5-year-old. They have protein shake and that's
Usually all I ever do.
Yeah.
And I keep it,
but then you can't really shake my power on because
Get it.
Sure.
it's like busy, so it has some,
Okay,
so it has a little, so,
there's Mark out there.
all right, works here. You made it,
You guys ready?
ready to go, sir?
The May 13th special meeting of the county commission will come to order. We have one action item today. Well, first of all, Commissioner Ross is present, Commissioner Hagan is present. And Commissioner Rusted is present by Zoom. Commissioner Peach is not available today. So the action item is the Grand Forks County parking ramp bid recommendations. And Mr. Flavin can start.
All right, thank you. Everybody should have a little bit of paper in front of them, consisting of a report and 2 attachments. The attachments are the bid tabulation summary. And then there's bid tabulation details. The summary is the sum of all their unit prices times the quantity to get to the bid amount. And then the details is each individual work item along with their cost per work item. Dollars square foot, dollar linear foot, whatever the case may be. With their summarized extended totals. One of the bids we received was not a responsive bid. They didn't include one of the required documents. And it's administering a bid opening, the sweatiest part of the whole thing. Cause when people don't get the paperwork right. Cause it's just kind of a deflating thing to do all that work and then you can't even, open it up and give them a chance. But the contractor is pretty gracious, understood it. Thinks our requirement's a little goofy. And we're actually double checking in our office to see if we can omit the one requirement, which is, the compliance with, WSI workers comp. But anyways, that's just a quality check we're gonna do on our side. We did get 2 bids that we could open, they had all the paperwork right. We did have 2 other very active bidders who chose not to submit a bid. So there was 5 numbers in play, we ended up being able to open to 2 of them. The first one we opened actually was higher than the working budget that we've been working with. So now picture a bid you can't open, the first bid you open is too high. So all your chips are sitting on the last card player. Fortunately, their numbers were quite a bit lower. And that's the recommendation that we'll make. So if you look at the summary. You can see the 2 we opened, Restoration Systems Inc. Is the bidder that we would recommend. Couple points to clarify here, if you look at the base bid. 2,930,576. On-site start date compliant with the bidding requirements. Substantial completion compliant with the bidding requirements. But their final completion date exceeded the October 4th stipulated latest date. So the base bid, even though it's a little bit lower dollar figure, can't award it. Because they're not compliant on the completion date. Then you look at the alternate number 1, 3,013,852. Same on-site start date, June 3rd. Substantial completion is September 23rd, 2024. Which is later than the final completion of September 20th, 2024. We have validated with this bidder that they recognize they transposed the number and all this. They abide by the bid date. So in that regard, they're gonna accept the bid dates they submitted at the price they submitted. So the path forward is to recommend awarding the alternate bid to Restoration Systems Inc. For a apparent value of $3,013,852 with the bid dates they stipulated in their bid. Even though it's odd to have final completion after substantial. It's one of those things that it's not a substantive variance. The final completion date does comply with the requirement. And they were intending all along to do the work in 2024. In a practical sense, we'll award the alternate pending acceptance of the recommendation. And then Bill and I will do a small reconciling change order to kind of get the dates to be normal. Still compliant with the October 4th completion date. And then Bill and I have a couple ideas where we can take a little bit of scope out of the project. Bring it under $3 million with that first kind of reconciling change order. And then proceed with the important scope of work. The scope of work we're gonna look at reducing is drain piping replacement. There's some flat horizontal sections that are in pretty good shape. That's a good place to save a little money, pending everybody's approval. It's, you know, that I think it makes sense to look at it. It's always good to have a little more contingency than we're gonna start with here, especially for the nature of this one. So in summary, the recommendation would be to award alternate bid number 1 to Restoration Systems Inc. Concurrent with sending them paperwork to get them authorized that the contract is going to be awarded to them. They can use that to then start their bond process, to get their payment bond, performance bonds organized. And then we'll follow up with the contract shortly thereafter. Which we already have drafted. The state's attorney has a copy of it as a courtesy. It's been reviewed in the past, prior to even starting the bid process. But we're prepared to send that out, immediately upon, hopefully acceptance of the recommendation. Couple things to note, this is not a lump sum bid. we have a parent lump sum at the conclusion of bidding, but everything's paid on installed quantities. And there will be some field variances. That's why these are always done as a unit price number, because once you start cutting into the concrete, we might see things worse. Might see things better, we don't know that till you start cutting into it. But again, for purposes of comparison to the bidders, these are the proper numbers. If you're so inclined to do the arithmetic, on the detail, there's some footnotes that identify, that our math didn't quite exactly match the math they did by hand in their submitted bid. And that's perfectly acceptable, because in the instructions to bidders, we basically say, hey, when there is a discrepancy on the total, we resolve the discrepancy in favor of the unit price. So what they did is they just calculated the arithmetic wrong to come up with the apparent lump sum number. We have rectified that in the documents in front of you. But I think it's important to bring this up because it does not constitute an ambiguity in the bid. It's all compliant with the bidding documents. So again, if someone were inclined to go do the math, compare it to the handwritten notes and all that, you'd see a little variance, but it's a non-issue for purposes of acceptance of the bid. And we did footnote them and clarify them in the attachments to the recommendation letter. So that's where we're at right now, is the recommendation to award the alternate bid number 1 to Restoration Systems Inc. and authorize us to start the contracting process with them.
Questions for Mr. Levin?
No, I think he did a good
Commissioner
job.
Rusted, any questions?
I have no questions for him.
Okay,
So are you looking for a motion
motion
to
for
accept the bid?
somebody.
I would make a motion then that we accept the bid for Restoration Systems Incorporated in the amount of $3,013,852. Is that correct? It's for what?
I might phrase a motion as a motion to accept the recommendation as reported.
Okay. I would change it to that.
I have a quick question for
Yeah,
Ms.
go ahead.
Middleton. How much is left of the dollars? 3.5 million. So a little bit to say that. Okay. It's not done yet. I'm trying to think positively, right? Well, all kinds of money left. Perfect.
You know, we published 2.3 million as the engineer's estimate, and I'll admit it's a kind of a lame psychology ploy to get people to sharpen their pencil. Doesn't work all the time. 2.6 was in my head is where I thought the best possible bid would be. We're effectively at 3. You know, but all in all, this is, I think, a pretty successful bid. A lot of activity, and moving it by a week actually made this work. If we would have stuck to the bid date I originally published, we would have got no bids and we'd have been sunken. So a little bit of patience on the front end paid off here on the back end.
All right,
Okay.
do I have a second?
Really wanted the city to take our parking grant. But we still need to fix it, so I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Rusted, any questions brought up by the last comment?
Not really a question, maybe a comment. I'm kind of, I guess, so to speak, beating a dead horse on this, but I still feel like we left some negotiations on the table with the city when they were a willing participant. I think we could have gone back and forth a little more to potentially free up some dollars for the sheriff's department or potentially the grandstands out at the racetrack. And so I guess, well, y'all know where I'm at with this.
All right. If there are no more other questions, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Do we need to do a roll call?
Roll call. All right, we'll do a roll call vote, and since Commissioner Rusted is on the screen, you can go first.
No,
Okay. Commissioner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan, yes, and I'm a yes. A motion passes. Is there any other business before the commission today? All right. Mr. Clevin, thank you for putting this together and getting it done quickly.
Good job.
For sure. Oh, what's your turn?
What is it?
All in favor? Sure.
Tracy, you want the paperwork?
Yeah.
All I have figures and stuff. You know. Sitting really had.
Yeah, that was. Came out there, they were slightly in favor of it, but everything that happened since then, especially with the church. It would take us. Oh, yeah, so much more.